In 1994, Jeff Bezos was 30 years old, sitting in a comfortable office on Wall Street, staring at a spreadsheet. The internet was growing at 2,300% a year. Most people saw a curiosity, a novelty, a toy for academics. Bezos saw a mechanism. He imagined himself at 80 years old looking back at his life. He called it the regret minimization framework. When you're 80, he said, you won't regret trying something bold. You'll regret not trying. That thought experiment was enough. He left a stable job at D.E. Shaw. He and his wife drove across the country. In the passenger seat, he wrote a business plan. The destination was Seattle. The idea was simple: sell books online. But simplicity can be deceptive, because what Bezos was really building wasn't a bookstore. It was a system. Even the name reflected that mindset. In the early days of the web, directories were often sorted alphabetically. Bezos wanted a name that would appear near the top. Visibility was leverage. He first considered cadabra, as in abracadabra, until a lawyer misheard it as cadaver, not the tone you want for a retail brand. He also registered relentless. In fact, relentless.com still redirects to Amazon today. Eventually, he chose Amazon. It began with an A, and it evoked the largest river on Earth. Vast, dominant, expansive. The ambition was embedded in the label long before the scale existed. To understand Amazon, you have to understand the man behind it. Jeff Bezos was born to a teenage mother. His biological father disappeared early. When he was 4, his mother married a Cuban immigrant named Miguel Bezos. Miguel adopted Jeff. The surname changed. So did the trajectory. Miguel had fled Cuba alone as a teenager, unable to speak English, landing in America with almost nothing. That story mattered. It became part of Jeff's internal architecture. Reinvention was possible. Identity was fluid. The future was built, not inherited. As a child, Bezos was intensely curious and slightly obsessive. He turned his parents' garage into a laboratory. He read science fiction obsessively. He dismantled his crib with a screwdriver because he didn't want to be contained. Containment would remain a theme. At Princeton, he studied electrical engineering and computer science, not because it was romantic, because it was rigorous, structured, predictable. Bezos doesn't operate on vibes. He operates on mechanisms. He has said many times, focus on what doesn't change. Customers will always want lower prices, faster delivery, more selection. So build a system that relentlessly optimizes those variables. That thinking became Amazon's DNA. In the early days, Amazon lost money, constantly. The company reinvested every dollar into growth: warehouses, technology, logistics, scale. Investors were skeptical. Analysts were brutal. In 2000, during the dot-com crash, Amazon's stock fell more than 90%. At one point, the company was so cash-constrained that survival was not guaranteed. Many assumed it would collapse like countless other internet darlings. Bezos did not panic. He wrote letters to shareholders explaining the long game. He repeated the phrase, "It's still day one." Day one meant permanent urgency, permanent experimentation, permanent humility. Day two, he warned, was stasis, followed by irrelevance, followed by decline. This wasn't motivational fluff. It was operational philosophy. Amazon meetings banned PowerPoint. Instead, executives wrote 6-page narrative memos, structured thought, complete sentences. If you couldn't explain your idea clearly on paper, it wasn't clear enough. Mechanism over theater. The company organized itself around a flywheel. Lower prices drive more customers. More customers attract more sellers. More sellers increase selection. More selection improves customer experience, which lowers costs, which lowers prices again. Spin the wheel relentlessly. Amazon became Bezos's personality at scale. Analytical, process-driven, impatient with inefficiency. But systems have shadows. Inside Amazon, the culture was described as demanding, high standards, data over emotion, long hours, internal competition. Warehouse workers reported intense pressure. Delivery speed became obsession. Every second measured, every inefficiency attacked. Critics argued that customer obsession came at the expense of employee experience. Former employees described a culture where metrics ruled everything. Performance was constantly evaluated. Weakness was exposed quickly. Bezos's defenders countered that high standards build enduring institutions, that scale requires rigor, that convenience at global levels does not emerge from comfort. Both perspectives can be true. Amazon was not built to be comfortable. It was built to endure. For years, the company posted razor-thin profits, or none at all. Wall Street oscillated between doubt and admiration. The narrative swung wildly: visionary or reckless, genius or bubble. Then something interesting happened. Amazon quietly built infrastructure for itself: servers, databases, storage, tools to handle its own explosive scale. These weren't glamorous projects. They were internal necessities. Then Bezos asked a simple question: if we need this infrastructure, don't others? In 2006, Amazon Web Services launched. At first, it looked like a side project, renting computing power over the internet, a niche utility for developers. It became the invisible backbone of the modern web. Startups, governments, media companies, even competitors, they all ran on AWS. Netflix streams on AWS. Airbnb runs on AWS. Thousands of apps you use daily rely on Amazon's servers. If the retail site is the visible storefront, AWS is the power grid humming beneath it. And here again, you see Bezos's mind at work. Not spectacle, infrastructure. Not attention, control. AWS didn't just generate profit, it generated leverage. It transformed Amazon from a retailer into a technological utility, a layer beneath the internet itself. Bezos often talks about long-term thinking, 7-year cycles, 10-year bets, 20-year horizons. That time horizon shapes behavior. It also shapes ambition. Long before billionaires turned space into a headline race, Bezos was talking about moving heavy industry off Earth, preserving the planet, expanding human civilization beyond a single world. In 2000, the same year Amazon nearly collapsed, he quietly founded Blue Origin. The company's motto, Gradatim Ferociter, step by step, ferociously. Unlike Amazon's rapid experimentation culture, Blue Origin moved slowly, secretively, methodically. Years passed with little public spectacle. Bezos sold billions of dollars of Amazon stock to fund it personally. To some, it looked like ego, a rich man's hobby, a late-life trophy project. To others, it was consistent. As a child, Bezos devoured science fiction and read about Gerard O'Neill's vision of orbital space colonies. Millions of people living and working beyond Earth. He once said, "We need to go to space to save Earth." move heavy industry off the planet, preserve Earth as a residential and natural zone. Whether that's idealism or optimization depends on your lens. Is Blue Origin about legacy, a monument carved in rocket fuel? Or is it the ultimate extension of regret minimization? At 80, would he regret not trying to expand the frontier? Around the same time, another billionaire was building rockets. Elon Musk approaches space like he approaches everything. Publicly, dramatically. Ideology first. Mars as manifesto. Social media as battleground. Volatility as strategy. Bezos is different. Where Musk thrives on spectacle, Bezos thrives on systems. Where Musk disrupts loudly, Bezos compounds quietly. Musk often positions himself as a visionary prophet. Bezos positions himself as an architect. One seeks acceleration through chaos. The other seeks endurance through control. This is not a moral judgment. It's a psychological contrast. Both build rockets. Both shape industries. But their temperaments leak into their companies. Amazon is structured, metrics-driven, mechanism-obsessed. Tesla and SpaceX are mission-driven, charismatic, high-risk. Bezos rarely improvises in public. His power lies in long arcs, in compound effects. He stepped down as Amazon's CEO in 2021, not because the system failed, but because it worked. He transitioned to executive chairman. AWS continued to generate enormous profit. Retail expanded. Logistics deepened. The flywheel kept spinning. He shifted more attention to Blue Origin, to the Washington Post, to philanthropy. Still, the question lingers. Who is Jeff Bezos, really? A hyper-rational optimizer who identified leverage points and exploited them with surgical discipline? A long-term idealist who genuinely believes in expanding human civilization? A competitive strategist who refuses to accept constraints? Or simply a man who ran a thought experiment at 30 and refused to live with regret? Maybe the answer is less romantic. Maybe Amazon isn't a monument to greed or genius. Maybe it's the scaled output of a particular mind. A mind that values mechanism over mood, structure over sentiment, endurance over applause. Bezos once said that your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Amazon's brand is speed, selection, reliability, infrastructure. In many ways, so is his. And as Blue Origin continues its careful ascent, step by step, ferociously, the same pattern holds. Build the mechanism, extend the horizon, minimize regret. The world often rewards noise, but sometimes it rewards systems that never stop spinning. In our next episode, we examine a founder whose empire was built not on systems and patience, but on personality, persuasion, and a collapse that shocked the world. Now I want to hear from you. Which founder, company, or rise and fall story should we cover next? Drop your ideas in the comments, and it might just become the next episode of The Founder Files.